Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm also good. I'm also good. Back in Slovenia, so that's nice seeing parents, family, friends. So yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. How long has it been since you last visited them?
Uh, I've been here in March. Yeah,
Eh,
5 months, six, in
Always
between.
takes me a while to realize which months we are in here in Dubai. It's like, uh,
Yeah.
well, I was just telling people who are joining us that we do not really have a fixed topic for today yet.
Mm-hmm.
We are open to any questions, any
Mm-hmm.
comments, anything that people would like to explore.
Proper Q&A.
Yeah, so we could do that.
Yeah. And while we are waiting for the questions, so please ask us anything related to our usual topics or something else.
Yeah.
How was your week now? We haven't spoken for
Oh,
quite a long time, so
a couple of interesting things actually that pop into my head. One is I'm almost worried about picking a subject for our talks now because it becomes very present in my life. So we spoke about anger. Was it last Monday?
yes, yes,
Yeah, I
or
think it was. It was very recent,
yeah,
and I really got to connect with my anger later last week. It was really present and coming up for me, and I was like, oh, interesting. So I'm almost thinking now, whatever we touch on, is it going to come and bite me in the ass?
how did you get in touch with your anger?
Well, there is always a trigger, right? There was a situation that really got me. Well, it's not the situation, right? Again, as we always say, but the situation was really conducive of that. So there was something that kind of brought that anger to the surface, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm feeling angry, and I got very curious about it, and it's an emotion that I was not really recognizing in myself for a long time. When we touched on this, how it's not really allowed, right, in our training. So I was completely disconnected from it. And this time it was actually very empowering to recognize it, to let it be there, to acknowledge it, to welcome it. And it was quite a beautiful experience of actually reconnecting with that anger and making space for it. So
Nice.
that was nice. And there was another thing, but I'll get to it later. Maybe you can say what was your week like and if there was anything that popped up for you.
Oh, my week was quite intense. We were now traveling a lot. Not a lot, but like 2 days ago, we were from 3 a.m. till 10 in the evening. We were on the road because now Ferragosta started in Italy and we had to drive through Italy, and also our highways were really jammed. So it was just thinking, like driving, sitting in the car, seeing all these congestions in front of you, and then thinking, okay, I'm here now, I cannot do anything about it. So yeah, how to deal with that, and just accepting the situation, putting a little bit of humor in, talking with my husband, and yeah, and it went through really smoothly. But I think some people can get really frustrated in the car when these kind of things happen, especially if you need to catch a plane or I don't know, you have some appointments, and then you're stuck there for another 2 hours, but you should be already over with the appointment or something. So yeah, maybe also we can talk about this, how to handle those type of situations in lives, like when you are in a situation that you cannot do anything about it, how to accept it, how to be cool with it, how to be present, and how to find solutions if there are any. Like, this, I think it was Saint Augustine who said, if you cannot change the situation, change yourself. Or I think Viktor Frankl was also saying this, but I think Augustine was something, yeah, in this kind of, I'm not quoting it directly, I'm just do you have any experience with that?
That's a very interesting topic, and maybe you can share how you found that kind of peace of mind, if you like, or just the presence and being with whatever is.
Yeah, so first initial thought for me is always why does it need to be like this as it is? And then afterthought is okay, what can I do about it?
Yeah.
So if there is nothing I can do about it, okay, then accept it and be curious about what are those feelings in me, like what are they telling me? Because I didn't have to be nowhere on the time, so we had time. We were just stuck there and just dealing with those thoughts and irritation, like so when you sit in the car, you're expecting it to be like a 3 hour drive, and then it's a 6 hour drive, and you don't expect that, and you are irritated. And I think this is normal human reaction that you're not okay with that because it's 3 hours, it's 3 hours. But then just talking, listening to good music or some podcasts in the car, if you are in the car, maybe calling a friend you haven't heard for a long time, if like we were really stopping and staying on one place for 5 minutes. So you can also open your journal and write something or read a book or I don't know, whatever you have. If you have some movies on your phone, you can watch it if you like this kind of stuff. So I think there are many possibilities, but first is to just recognize, oh, I feel now I'm really irritated or angry or sad or frustrated, and just then deal with those feelings.
Yeah.
So that was my go-to, like just feeling, okay, I feel this, what can I do? Nothing, okay. Then better to be happy and do something about it and do something else instead of being angry or frustrated.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think it is very important to first ask yourself, as you were saying, is there anything that I can do about it? Like, if there are situations where we are able to exercise certain control and change the circumstances, but there are many of those frustrating situations where we can do absolutely nothing. So allowing those difficult emotions to take over on top of the actual circumstances only makes it worse. So if it's okay, this is happening, I have nothing that I can do to make it better. It is difficult for us as humans as well, right, to accept it sometimes, because when we have an opportunity to do something, to have this ability to action, it does give us a bit of feeling of power and control, and it does help. And if you're stuck in a traffic jam, for example, yes, you're completely helpless in that sense. But reframing it and thinking about it, well, what can it be? Well, could be a good opportunity for me, even if you're driving with someone, to connect with the person next to you and have a conversation. If you're on your own, maybe just some me time, just process your thoughts and connect with what's going on with you, since there is nothing else you could be doing. So it's trying and find a different perspective on it. I think that.
Yeah, and befriending the situation also, because there is nothing that you can do, and if you are then okay with that you are accepting the situation that you are in, you get calmer instantly.
Yeah. And there are also so many situations where they talk about, for example, when there is a plane crash, there would be always some people who missed the flight because they were stuck somewhere. I recently read about the 9/11s. There were people who were late for work that morning, who worked in those buildings, and they were very frustrated and angry. Someone's kids got sick and they needed to drop them at the doctor. Someone got stuck in traffic, and there were quite a number of those stories, and people in the moment were very angry and frustrated. In the end, it saved their lives. So you also never know, and almost accepting that, okay, I'm here now, and perhaps this is where I'm meant to be, also could be a way
that now also for me I heard it as an excuse, so I can be late because you never know what can happen to me.
Well, you can always.
I know you didn't meant it like that, but that inner critic just popped in and just said, now people will start to use this as excuse,
Yeah, there are always different ways to look at the same scenario and twist the facts as you wish to suit your narrative. But yeah, and exactly,
No,
as Marisa Peer says, tell yourself a better lie, because a lot of stuff that we tell ourselves are really lies, right? Like a lot of people I know, they say, "Oh, I just look at the cake and I gain 5 kilos." Like, it's not true. It's a lie, right? You can't look at a cake and gain 5 kilos. But we tell these kind of things to ourselves without even realizing. So you might as well tell yourself something more helpful. So really figuring out what would be the lie you can benefit from.
Yeah. Do you have such a lie that you're telling yourself in your mind? I'm thinking about what am I telling to myself that is like an excuse
And
for me that I'm not doing because I'm telling this story to myself.
I have a few, but I'm not sure I'm willing to share them right now. I'll tell you privately.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
something I might be willing to share is on another subject, and I don't know if there is anything else you wanted to mention about this topic. Because the other one I had in mind when you asked about my week was something that I discovered, and here I'm willing to disclose a little bit. Something that came up for me yesterday as I did a therapy session as a client. So I was a client, and a friend of mine kindly did a hypnotherapy session with me and for me. And one thing that really surprised me, and I was fascinated to discover, is so we went back to some period in childhood, as you always do in the sessions, and some period where I was experiencing difficult emotions and it was tough. And so she asked me, and how did that kid cope with it? And I told her, well, I was playing loads of table tennis and I was reading a lot. And as I said it, I was like, damn, 30 odd years later, I've been playing hell a lot of paddle over the past month, and I'm reading a lot. I'm like, it made me laugh, but it's funny how we sometimes find these coping strategies or ways to regulate, and it could be sport, it could be reading, and she took it a bit further, kind of discovering what it did for me. And usually what it does, it helps you either get distracted, numb the pain in some way, soothe yourself, etc., right? Like books, it's an escape into imaginary world. And in sports, what I actually realized, this gives you some sense of control, right? If you're a 7-year-old kid, you have no control about your environment, but when you're there playing a game of table tennis or paddle or whatever it might be, you have that sense of control that if I put a lot of effort in, if I train hard, if I perform at my best, I can win the game. So that's what it's been doing for me. And it was like, boom, a light bulb went on.
Yeah, that's a good one. So what are you going to do now with your paddle?
Oh, I'm going to enjoy it still, but more consciously, and also like, okay, it's really, I think with all the adaptations, it's good to recognize them for what they are, and see what is it trying to solve, and then see if there are also other ways to deal with that issue with the root cause. So thankfully, paddle is not a bad habit to have. It does have some side effects if I overdo it, but it's still controlled. I do it in reasonable hours, but I think understanding what it does for you, and whatever it could be, something that we are more judgmental of. It could be, going to a bar and drinking every night. It could be some people get into sex addiction route, or whatever it might be. That is kind of we look at as more negative. Generally, we tend to label it, but again, rather than judging it, actually recognizing that it's trying to solve a problem for you, and finding a way to actually be grateful to that adaptation and saying, okay, you're helping me. What are you trying to help me with? Okay, how else can I solve that?
Yeah, that's a good question, because otherwise you just running away from the problem, but the problem is still there and you're not solving anything. You're just enjoying yourself in one way or another. And some maybe go shopping, some go into workaholics mode, and yeah, so there are many coping strategies, or scrolling on Instagram. Yours is good, so
Yeah, and you're right, you know, like some of them are almost not only are socially acceptable, but they are actually considered like a good thing, like workaholic, right? But it all comes at a cost. There is a cost to it. So if someone is workaholic and they do have a family, they sacrifice the quality of their relationship. Or if they don't have a family, they may never have a family because they're not really putting time and attention there. So everything, even the more acceptable ones, come at a cost. But if you look at the ones that are less socially accepted, they also tend to bring a lot of shame in with them, right? So then it's a cycle of trying to numb the pain with behavior, then it works for a bit, then you go down the shame spiral, and then you need to numb that shame again, and off you go.
And it's even worse than before when you started. Yeah.
And that's why a lot of, you know, those addiction rehabilitation programs, they are not really working, because when they're just trying to deal with the symptom, it gets a bit better for a while, and then the person tends to relapse because they do not address the root cause, and the root cause is always underlying pain.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really important topic. Yeah.
I'm curious if you are aware of some of your strategies, and you can trace them back to childhood as well, like I did yesterday with mine.
So I figured out recently that when I feel overwhelmed, like that I don't know where to start, like I have this big goal in mind in the future, and it's too big for now, for this, let's say, for next 20 minutes that I have time. And then I just start scrolling on Instagram or on Twitter or somewhere else, because in my mind it's not enough time to do something productive, to do something good, like really quality work, because I feel like 20 minutes is not enough. But if I start doing it, sometimes I'm done in 5 minutes and I do something really good. So this is something that I'm right now facing, this challenge. Like whenever I find myself scrolling on phone, I stop and I think about, okay, what are you trying to avoid now, and what can you do more productive now? Even if it's 2 pages of book, it's better than to just scroll mindlessly on somewhere and just taking in all this information that I don't even need. So, yeah.
Well, that's an interesting one, and I have not really researched it much. I do that as well, the mindless scrolling, and I've also got curious about it. And what I found is that I do more of that when I'm not very well regulated. So if I'm a bit thrown off by something happening on a particular day, I might spend much more time mindlessly scrolling. And I think it has that kind of soothing effect, which is quite addictive. And yeah, I used to be really, I would be very critical of myself whenever I catch myself doing that. But lately I shifted to being more compassionate and understanding, and say, okay, what's going on? What is this about? And maybe go and do some breathing, or just really find ways to regulate and go back to something more meaningful.
I usually set timer, and I just start doing, and I just say to myself, okay, if now I'm gonna do this for 10 minutes, and if I still won't be feeling like I'm doing something good, then I can go back to scrolling. But after 10 minutes, I'm in the work and I start doing something, so I forget about the phone altogether. Yeah, so yeah, we have different strategies and methods how to cope with that. Yeah, that's one for me. Or sometimes I remember when I was a kid, so maybe this is my substitute for scrolling. I was just sitting behind the desk, and I found myself looking out the window and just staring out the window, and sometimes it would pass like 1 hour or 2 hours and I did nothing. I was just staring out the window. or in the blank space. So I think I was just trying to avoid also that time something that I'm not even conscious about what, because I never investigated. Yeah.
But with staring, especially if you're like looking at particular spot for a long time, that could also be rewiring, subconscious process of rewiring the brain. So this friend of mine, she does a brain spotting technique, which is, and I think EMDR is based on similar idea, that where when you look at specific points, some circuits get activated. And I don't know much about the mechanics of it, but I've been on the receiving side of this, and fascinatingly it works. And I could sit and stare at one point for a long time, and something shifts. And also, depending on which point I look, I experience a sensation in my body with different intensities. So maybe you were ahead of your times, with this kind of processing whatever was going on by looking at one point.
Okay, that was it. I bite.
Reframed it for you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Our Q&A goes really smoothly. Thank you for all those wonderful questions.
Yeah, I think it's, also August, a lot of people have traveled, so it's more difficult for people to join live, but we do appreciate every single one of you who joins our calls, and those who watch replay. We appreciate your comments and feedback. And how long have we been doing this now, Petra?
Oh, I think it's now 3 months, 2 months, 3 months, something like that.
At least 3. I'm thinking it's 3 or 4. So.
Yeah. I remember when we were talking about it, we said, okay, let's try it out for 2 months or 3 months, and then we'll see how it's gonna go, and then then decide what to do with it later. So, but I enjoy those talks with you. It's nice. Yeah.
Me too. So we'll keep them on.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add to our special episode of Q&A?
No, I think that was good. We covered a couple of different areas, and just really curious things and tips, and yeah.
Oh, now I'm in my hometown, but we are in a hotel because we didn't get our usual place we hire. It was already booked, and we are in hotel, and they are not used to have local customers. So the people here are just talking in our native language, and it's so funny because they don't have filter, because they think nobody understands them. So it's really funny. Then you say in your home language, "Hi, how are you?" and they're just like, "Okay." So that's
I think the world is becoming so mixed up, right? In terms of it's so open, people travel, people mix, there are so many mixed families. So you literally have no idea what languages the person in front of you may possibly speak, or at least understand. Just never know.
Yeah, you never know. So it happened to us also when we were traveling and we were talking, and then somebody just said, "Oh, zdravo," and we were like, okay. Yeah. So that's also some funny stories around the world. Yeah, when you come back home. Oh, today I was at the dentist, and he put a lot of anesthetics in my jaw because I'm really not a good friend with pain. And I was sitting there, and I was thinking to myself, let it be over, let it be over, let it be over. And then I was, come on, you don't feel nothing. What's wrong with you? So I had to talk. I had a really long talk with myself. It's okay, relax. There's nothing to be afraid of. He's a good dentist. You know him for a very long time. So just relax.
I adopted a line from Sadhguru. I think I got it from his what's his name? Inner engineering course. And I think he talks about almost like a mantra saying, this moment is inevitable. So if I would be like at a dentist, I'm like, okay, this moment is inevitable. It's like you can't do anything. Works probably as well for the traffic example. It's like, it's inevitable. You deal with it.
Yeah.
Or as my neighbor on the mat next to me in the ayahuasca journey, his mantra was surrender. Took me a while, but I learned to do that as well. Surrender.
Yeah, that's a good one also. Yeah. So we kind of circled back to the starting topic. So yeah, that's good.
So it did.
Mantra for today, surrender. Yeah. Look for solutions if there are any. If not, then just say to yourself whatever emotions you want to feel and try to do something in that regard. Right?
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much. And yeah, for next week, again, we don't really have a topic yet. So if anyone has any ideas, suggestions, please drop us a line and we will take that on board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But otherwise, thank you all for watching. Thank you, Irina, for being here and yeah,
Thank you.
sharing your thoughts and everything, your knowledge.
Always a pleasure. Thank you. Take care.